Oh, Assalamu alaikum. Happy International Women's Day. So excited to be with all of you today. Sorry I'm a little late. So many fun things happening on International Women's Day, you know. Alhamdulillah. Oh, such a happy Women's History Month. And then today, happy International Women's Day, March 8th. Yay. I hope that all of the women who are here today are celebrating and just celebrating being a woman and saying Alhamdulillah. All right. Alhamdulillah. Welcome, Tayyaba. So excited. Alaikum salam. I am so excited to be interviewing and talking to you today. Just can't see myself. There we go. Tayyaba is a brand new board member here at Rabata, and she has been with us though since before we were Rabata. She's been right there with us. We've been walking hand in hand this whole time. She's an awesome author. I'm sure many of you already know her. MashaAllah. Awesome and successful author. And she's been a school Are you still a school board member in Chicago, Tayyaba? Or is that term over? You still are? Okay. So she sits on the school board in Chicago. She's doing all sorts of making history things. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. And I'm going to ask you something. I didn't ask anybody today. Are you doing something special today? Because it is March 8th, International Women's Day.
I actually
are you doing
shared
your daughters, for example,
today about my little one, Hafsa. For Character Day, she dressed up as herself because she's a character in a book. And then when she got to school, there was a preschooler that was also dressed as Hafsa because she inspired others. So, yeah.
That is so awesome. Okay, wait, you have to back up because there are people here who do not know what you're talking about. So tell us about that book.
Yeah,
and
so
tell us,
my youngest,
then tell us the story again so they can
she's
connect
been little,
to it.
she's been super affectionate and really loves to give colorful kisses. And we started categorizing and naming them because they were a little messy. And like as soon as she learned how to talk, you know, she knows Mama likes to write books, and she said, "Wouldn't that be a good book describing all these kisses that she gives, like a milky kiss or a greasy kiss?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what a great idea!" So we, wrote. I mean, so she was like 3 years old, but we wrote this book together, and it's a board book that got published 2 years ago. And alhamdulillah, so for school, this is Read Across America Week also. And they had to dress up as a character in a book, and she confidently went as herself. And then a little 4-year-old also came dressed up as her. So it was really, really, really beautiful to see that. And I always, but it was one of those things I always say, like instead of asking the kids what do they want to be when they grow up, ask them who they can be now. And so, alhamdulillah, that was really nice to see today. Yeah.
Wow. So just a comment about your sound. Are you using a microphone? Because it's getting a little bit of almost like something is hitting it every once in a while. Maybe you should, yeah, getting a little bit. But while you're doing that, I'm going to say that I did not know that Hafsa is a co-author. I mean, in quotes, of course.
Yeah.
But I did not know it was her idea. So, that is so
and we've
awesome.
actually been performing it, a read aloud, and it's almost like a reenactment. My son, he drew like the props from the story in like really big images, and we act them out. It's actually really fun. So, yeah.
That's so awesome. Oh my God. And so we're talking here, we've been talking about hashtag we are our history. And I just love what you just said about not asking kids what they want to be in the future, but what can they be now? And then your daughter dressing up as the character in the book, like she is recognizing how
And it's
she
a really simple
is
story,
part
just
of
like a kid
history in her
that's,
own way.
affectionate and loves her family. And I think we need to always just bring it down to a level where they can feel like, yes, their everyday is important. So, alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that every day. I mean, I think sometimes maybe we get caught up in big dreams and thinking, oh, I need to do this big thing. But I think, well, you know, of course, the English expression, the devil's in the details. And I think it's true. Like when we pay attention, the devil, but when our details are messed up, sometimes we think, oh, I got to fix this big problem. But actually, just fixing those little issues is what we need to fix the bigger problem. Yeah, subhanAllah. Okay, so with that, here's Hafsa. Let's think about Hafsa's granddaughter. Inshallah. And then Hafsa's granddaughter's granddaughter, okay? Like this is most likely, may Allah give you a long life in health and obedience to him, but most likely you're not going to be here, nor am I at that time. So I have lots of questions around that time period, but let's start with, what do you hope for her? Or I said granddaughter. So let's say, what do you hope for her?
It's kind of a scary time.
Yeah, what do you hope for
right
her
now, Anse, because even my own kids, they say things like they don't know if they want to have kids, because right now they themselves are being tested with so much, especially when it comes to LGBTQ, and even having to deal with that, which I did not have to deal with growing up. And I felt like I had to make Hafsa aware of this situation and pull her out of public school, and put her in Islamic school at a little too early, because she was being exposed to so much. And so it comes down to, you said this, like making our kids confident as Muslims in a non-Muslim setting, around non-Muslims, and not being embarrassed of their faith, or not being embarrassed to talk about Allah or the Prophet, because not out of fear, it's just they don't want to look like more of a minority than they already are. So what do I see for her as a grandmother, as a great grandmother, inshallah, is I would hope that she brings forth a progeny that will be these confident Muslims. And it has to start now. That confidence has to be built now, where she can walk around proud of who she is and not embarrassed. I feel like when they're younger, they're a little more prouder Muslims. But even my son, he's in 8th grade, and he was saying they were praying in the library. They were praying the Dhuhr in the library, and Brother Jason walked in. He said, "What are you guys doing?" And they're like, "Oh, we're going to do the Muslim prayer. You want to join us?" So he prayed with them. And I was like, "Oh, so what does that mean? Is he interested?" And they're like, "He probably just wanted to skip class." But at the end of it, they're still being themselves and not embarrassed to pray in a public school setting with non-Muslims. And I would hope we, inshallah, those of us that are in the West, and inshallah globally, but having that confidence, even if we are the minority, to building that confidence. I feel like when you read the Sirah and when you study the lives of the companions, you don't see that lack of confidence. And I wonder how we can bring that back, inshallah.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons that these are the young people, and the possibly future young people are struggling with that confidence is because it's not just about being a Muslim, it's about being a person of faith, period. We're in such a secular time that an Orthodox Jew or a committed Christian, they are struggling just as much as a committed Muslim in community to be like, even within community, we have reached this place where it's okay to mock each other. Like, oh, come on, you're just You get up at night and pray too. It's not enough for you, the 5 prayers. And if this kind of comment is happening in community, then when we're outside in community, like it's really a struggle to be able to talk about these things in a normative way, because we're not in a society of faith, we're in a secular society.
I mean, that was also the type of society that our predecessors were living in too, and they how Islam spread through business transactions, through everyday interactions with people, and again, it was like, gosh, how are you such a good person? Oh, what faith do you belong to? Oh, this is the faith you belong to. I want to know more, you know. And I just we're not even able to have those type of faith-driven interactions, because we're trying to be like them instead of making them want to be like us. So.
Yeah. I'm thinking about what you're saying, and I'm thinking about how I have to change the place because I need to plug in. But I'm thinking about this idea of we are our history, and thinking about this as something really critical, and how education builds confidence. So today at the center, I was talking to our contractor. You know, you remember the anchoring thing. Of course, you're a board member, so you don't. I'm telling the audience, if you're just reminding you of this anchoring. So we're expanding. Get rid of that light so it's not in everyone's eyes. And so they're talking about the wudu area now. And the contractor is not a Muslim. And so I was talking to him about it, about where do the faucets go. And I said, well, you know, we have to sit and we're going to be taking the water and washing our faces. He goes, you are?
Oh.
And that's because they've been calling this thing a foot wash. They keep calling it a foot wash.
Yeah.
And I just let them do that because whatever, like, you know what I mean? But when I'm really telling him where I want that faucet, he was fascinated. Oh, you're putting your arm under there. Okay, well, then we have to put it in a very different place. And my plan was, because he thought it was a foot wash. And I think like there's something about this space of knowledge when you are in a place where people around you know what wudu is. Yeah. It's not so hard to say, I got to go make wudu. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay, so now let's think about those children again, okay? 100 years from now, where do you hope the ummah will be?
Inshallah. Where people are drawn to our faith easily. That would be beautiful to be able to go back to that, inshallah.
Yeah. Okay, what are you doing to contribute to that happening? Like, what is your, so we are our history. So how are you making that future? Like, how are you making, so in the future, they're going to look back, they're going to say, so this is 2 questions together. One is, what are they going to say about you? Like let's do them separate. Let's first say, we are our history, Women's History Month. We are the women of today. We are women's history in the future, especially with the Rabata work that we're doing. And you're a board member and you've been a heavy volunteer for a long time. You're a graduate. You've got so much going that you're doing, right? So how are you that history, like that future? How are you the history? What do you want them to say about you?
That I wish I had this question ahead of time so I could have written it out, my answer, and thought it through. But I think what comes to mind, Allah, use me with the right words, inshallah. But what comes to mind is this idea of knowing that we are meant to stand out, and that knowing that we are meant to stand
say that
out,
again and say it slow.
Not meant to fit in. So what makes us stand out? It's our trust and belief in God. And so what like living in the secular world, living in a minority setting, what makes you stand out is being brave. This idea of stepping forward, stepping in, stepping up. And I think, at least the way I was raised, is like, well, somebody else is going to do the work. Like, either you're not qualified, or you're not good enough, or you're not religious enough, or you're not holy enough, or, like there's people who have set their lives aside to do this work. But if we just let a smaller group of us as a small group do this work, then is it really going to carry on? You know, and I always think about the Muhajirin, like they went from Mecca to Medina. Of course, they needed to save their lives, but I believe it's to preserve this faith. And if they didn't do that sacrifice, then we wouldn't be here 1400 years
Yes.
later. And so what is that,
Yes.
you know, what is that difficult move that we have to do in order to make sure those generations that are going to come after us can, you know, sit and talk about Islam, practice Islam in a comfortable, safe way. And even for me, you know, I literally am the only minority on the school board, and it was very scary to campaign and run. And I remember I was meeting with the campaign manager that somebody had connected me to, and he was looking at I had him look at my campaign card, my flyer that was going to go out. And he said, you know, it looks to me like you are kind of watering down your Muslimness. Like, this is a non-Muslim saying this to me. And I said, actually, I am. Because I was worried that that would not get me elected. And he said, you need to own it. You need to own it. If somebody looks at your card, obviously they're going to know that I'm Muslim because of my hijab. And if they make that decision that they're not going to elect me just based on that, then he's like, we don't want their vote anyway. But they should read that who you are, which is very visibly and living this life of faith. They should see that in what you're doing and how you're living and what your card says. So I said, okay. And then I completely changed the content and owned my Muslimness. And then I got elected with the most votes out of everybody. And which was just shocking because I live in a very, very white, Anseh, community. Yeah. So, alhamdulillah, but
area, district. Yeah. That gave me the chills. I just want to this idea of owning that we are not meant to fit in, like just own standing out is so powerful.
Yeah. So,
I got the chills when you're talking about that card. That's amazing.
Again, that it's not embarrassment, but just like, you know, are they going to still accept me? You know, maybe I just need to be more like them and present myself more like them. But what got me elected was not being like them, you know. And so I needed to accept that and own that. And alhamdulillah, you know, it's not easy. It's still like, I'm usually at the meetings. I'm one of the few, you know, minorities there. And I worry about who's going to come after me because in 2 years, I keep trying to talk to people like, hey, you want to run for the board in 2 years? And everybody's like, no. But, you know, it's like, then who's going to do this work? Like, who's going to step up if all of us are like, not me, not me? Yeah. And, you know, like one thing that I've learned from you and working and volunteering with Rabata is like, the barakah comes, you know, if your intention is always to do it for Allah, whatever it is, like the barakah comes and really like we have to be the ones that are doing the work. And, you know, you recently said to us, well, then if you don't think you're good enough, get good, you know, and, you know, like what is it that defines that goodness that will make you get up and do the work? So, alhamdulillah for these opportunities. I remember when I first started taking classes with you, you said, oh, you know, think about 1 hour a week of learning and 1 hour a week of volunteering or serving outside of your home. And I was like, oh my God, how am I going to get 1 hour a week away from my family? Like, that was like so hard to fathom, you know? And now it's like, oh my God, like, where's my time? You know, like I'm doing way more than 1 hour a week, but alhamdulillah, that barakah comes and you just got to start. You just got to step in, step up, step forward, you know, and I'm really, really grateful. So all of us, and I'm an introvert. I don't know how many people know that. I'm a very, very introverted person. So for me to be doing the work that I'm doing, even as an author, even as a speaker, even on the board, it is way out of my comfort zone. But I think about, like, I don't know, honestly, maybe this is something that we should do is, you know, study the companions through MBTI. and see how many of them were introverts and had to, like, I don't
Whoa.
know, Abu Ubaidah radiallahu, and I always think of him, like I imagine him to be
Yeah.
introverted, but then he was like the governor of Sham, you know, and
Right. I always, when I think, so, you know, we have Simon here and she's been teaching us and stuff. And I really, even before Simon, I've always thought of this MBTI as a road
yes,
into understanding ourselves and understanding what we need to work on so we can become self-actualized, walk into that space of ihsan. And in that space of ihsan, I feel like we hold all of the cognitive functions. We learn how to strengthen all those other muscles. So you're saying I'm an introvert, but I am on the school board, I'm on the board, I'm out there, I'm teaching, I'm a Dragonflies teacher, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like the list is long, mashallah. That's about you strengthening those other cognitive functions, isn't it? So that we can all
yes,
get into that space so we can
absolutely.
serve from our strengths and from our weaknesses. Yeah, subhanallah. Alhamdulillah. All right. Well, let's talk just
Yes.
a little bit more. I started late, so if it's okay with you, we'll go just a couple more minutes. Are you okay? All right. So now we're looking at, so you're saying this, we're thinking about the future. Hashtag we are our history. Oh, by the way, I need to tell everyone who's here. Michelle needs me to tell everyone that just for today, we have a
Whoa.
50% off sale on our Daybreak Press books. You looks like you didn't know about that. Yeah, right? 50%. That includes the
Wow.
Dua book, that includes Joy Jots, that includes Crowning Venture, that includes Crowning Venture Journal, which people are doing online together with Umida. That includes Kanye McCann. That includes Brewing Storms, Sophie's Journal, The Acquaintance, and Pieces. I think I've listed all of them. But 50% off, so that's huge. So now's the opportunity to get books for the, that's better than wholesale. That's better than wholesale. No, that's out. No. Yeah, sorry. But we did orders. We have more coming in, but they won't be part of the sale today. Yeah. But yes, so there you go. I did it. I told everyone they're like, you know, bring them into the classroom. 50% is better than wholesale. So
they make great
jump
gifts
on that. Alhamdulillah. Only today though, till midnight. Can you tell, you know, talking about
I was
yes,
you and
gifts and
Maria, my
Ramadan
eldest,
gifts.
we
The
were
Dua
using
book is
that
a perfect
Dua
Ramadan
book.
gift,
We were
actually.
reciting from it when we were doing Syed, doing. Oh my, it was like I've never read Dua like that before. It was like, oh, you can talk to Allah like this. Like it was just so beautifully done. Really beautiful book. So yeah.
Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. That's beautiful. I was going to ask you because we're talking about we are our history. And there was one time you did something that was, well, you do lots of cool things, but there's something that talk about these books made me remember. Do you remember when you arranged something? You'll remember the details. You had Christians coming and you're like, you need Sophie's Journal. You need this book. Can you remember that for me?
Yeah.
And tell the folks about, because that's right in your theme, isn't
we
it?
had
This is who I am,
open
and this
house
is how
at
we're
a
making this
local
history.
masjid here a few years ago. This is before COVID, and so they opened the invitation to all you know, people of faith or non-faith, whatever. Please come and walk through our masjid and learn about who we are. And so I asked them if we could have a table for our daybreak books, and they were open to the idea, but they said we can't sell these books. It wouldn't feel right to invite them and then try to make them buy things from us. So then I was like, they have to have these books. And we actually did, like, my husband and I did like a really quick fundraiser, and we got a bunch of people to sponsor a huge number of copies of books, and we were able to give them away then to all of these non-Muslims, and they were just so grateful. They took them to their schools and their libraries, and that connected me to a local faith club here, which I've been part of now for like 4 or 5 years. It's made up of Muslim. I'm actually one of the few Muslims, but Muslim, Christian, and Jewish women, and we have like such great conversations. And then in that faith club, I was able to tell them, "Hey, let's read Sophia's journal." So we one whole session on Sophia's journal. So yeah, I mean,
so
again,
awesome.
like, you just gotta do it, and you gotta get creative about it. Yeah.
Yeah, jump out and do it in confidence,
it's
right? And in feeling like
sometimes you have to be a little
why
creative
not?
about it, but there's
Why
ways
not?
to do it, and just do it. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Well, I mean, tell people follow Tayyaba on Instagram. She's got quite the following already. She has a fun Instagram platform. And mashallah, Tayyaba I'm so excited that you're on the board. I'm just so happy about that. Alhamdulillah. And that's a new experience for you now. So next year when we have you back,
It's
we'll
definitely
have you
a
talking about
different
what does it
angle
feel
in,
like
and
when you're in.
it's a heavier responsibility, but I am so grateful for it. I mean, Rabata the inception was about 2012, 2013, right? And I met you in 11, and it's just been that gradual progression to, okay, now how else can I serve and do this work? And it just seemed like this leadership role was the way to do it. And it's not even leadership, it's like stewardship, right? Because really, like, you are overseeing this work, and it's a big responsibility. But alhamdulillah, I'm very, very grateful for it. So
Yes. It's definitely hashtag we are our history. MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Reminder that the 50% off sale will stop at midnight tonight. This is for all Daybreak Press books. People have been buying today gifts for people in Ramadan. They've been buying like a whole set of books for their classroom, their kids' classrooms in public schools. Like you could get 50% off of Sophie's Journal.
yes,
Bring it to the teacher and say, I got these for all the kids in the class so they can read. Pieces, also acquaintance as well. We have 3 novels. We also have a children's book, Drummer Girl, which would be a great book. It's a Ramadan book, so you can bring that into your classrooms, your classrooms, your kids' classrooms as well. Again, like I said, it's better than wholesale. So if you're an Islamic school, quick, call up the principal and say, we're buying these for the school.
Well,
we just got to do it. We got to do it now.
Just to
we won't
add
get that
about
wholesale price
Drummer
if we try to
Girl,
do wholesale.
even for public schools, they're always looking for books to teach the kids about Ramadan, and they don't have enough. So that's actually a really beautiful book, and you can, gift it to your child's teacher and be like, please, read from this book. And most teachers, most schools are very open and accepting. So.
I think I might get them for my granddaughter's school, actually, for the classroom as a gift for each one in the class. I'm going to actually ask right now. I'm going to find out how many kids are in that class. 50% off. And I'm going to find out that is so I can get one. What a great, for them to go home with a gift from Tammy. Here's a book about Tamra. She's my namesake. About Ramadan. I really like that idea. 50% off, I can do it. So. Yes, you go to the website of the Daybreak, the rabata.bookshop.org, I think it is, and somebody will put it for us. And it's automatic, I believe. So you can also see the ad on my page. All right, I won't keep any longer. Thank you so much, Tayyaba. And may Allah bless you and all of the work that you do. Alhamdulillah. Hashtag we are our history together.
Yes, you too.
Happy International Women's Day. Yes. Assalamu alaikum.